All right. Are we starting?
Rolling, yeah, good to go.
Awesome.
All kinds of B-roll already. What's up, man?
What's going on? Thanks, Pat, for joining me on what is really my second podcast of this style.
Yeah, the good news is you didn't set the bar too high with the first one.
I set the bar ridiculously high with the
God.
first one. I'm going to have Brent come back because I'm super pissed off. I hope Brian's listening to this podcast. I'm super pissed at Brian Fagan. We did that.
I love when you get fired up.
Yeah, well, we did that at Sonolus Studios,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. And Brian's amazing. He's a great friend of mine. But Brian and Sam was there. We walk into the room, and, you know, Brent's a big deal. I don't want to waste Brent's time. You know, if you listen to the first podcast, Brent's, like, amazing. Super smart dude.
Oh, ridiculous.
Which is why I wanted to have him back in, because I'm like, when we had him on the radio, I was just so, like, I was blown away. I drove out of there like, this guy just blew my mind.
Dude, I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah,
Like-
he's actually too smart. So anyways, walk into what do they call that room over there at Sonolus? The think room, the think tank. It's this dark room, dark walls. There's like no lighting and red furniture. I remember red furniture. Yeah, it's kind of a creepy room too. But
That sounds a little unwelcoming.
yeah, but he's got this one mic hanging. Brian does. He's like, it'll be fine, man. This is like $100,000 mic. I'm like, first of all, thinking in my head, there's no chance. I mean, Sonolus, granted.
For sure, yeah, they've got
If
the budget.
anybody
but
has a $100,000 mic just laying around, or it's Sonolus Studios, right? But I knew what was going to happen, right? Like when and these aren't the best mics of all time, but when you're in front of a microphone the way you're supposed to be, it's a different sound as opposed to one mic for
Yeah, like
three people.
the little ambient kind of whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, Brent sounded really good, but
It's because he just owns a room.
Brent's just the man. I'm going to have him come back, actually.
You should.
I'm having him come back in here. So you're actually popping the cherry. I don't know if that's cool to say anymore, but
We'll go with it. It's a
you're-
podcast. You can say anything you want. Remember?
you're breaking it here. So
Nice.
you're breaking it in. You're the first podcast.
I haven't even
this
seen this
style.
space as this.
We obviously do the real word here, but this is the first one this style in the Nyack space, man.
I'm pumping. I haven't seen it. Like I saw the preview tour.
Yeah,
But you guys didn't have. There was no
How's it
furniture.
look?
There
You
was,
like it?
Oh, it's dope.
good. Well,
It's so good.
I appreciate that. So the reason I wanted to have you on, you're a dear friend, obviously. So appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, man.
But and I want you to tell people a little bit, like you're Pat Kenny, what you do, that type
Yeah,
of
yeah.
thing. We don't have to go super deep if you don't want, but give us your little quick 60-second story.
Ooh.
And then because we do the radio show every single Saturday, I really want to dig into that and,
Yeah.
and that world. And I just want to get your perspective on radio in general.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So go ahead, tell some peeps about your deal, and then we'll get into that.
Yeah. So Pat Kenny. I mean, you and I have known each other for 6-ish plus years, give or take. I'm a financial advisor, financial planner. There's all kinds of titles on my card. Basically, I help people plan for retirement, manage their money while they're still working, plan for unforeseen events. Super easy stuff, right? Nice and mellow, nice and
He's
simple.
the money guy.
Money guy.
He
That's
does
really
not
it, right?
want me to say he's the Apple stock guy. He
That's
is
it.
not
I
that
am
guy.
not. Although I'm surrounded by Apple products.
So there's
Quite-
a lot of
quite
stuff-
literally.
You are absolutely.
Like actually, I feel like I'm outnumbered by.
You
Apple.
own one too.
That's it. Yeah,
Are you allowed to own Apple products?
I think I am.
Yeah.
Let's not put that. Can we edit that out, Sam? That's on you.
No, don't.
I'm
We're not
kidding. I'm
editing
kidding.
anything. That's the thing. You
That's
come
it.
in. You come into this room.
We're hitting it.
You're at the mercy of what we're doing.
No, so yeah, I mean, it's you know and I've been doing our gigs for about the same amount of time. Kind of came into our industries at the same time. There's a lot of overlap, right? So like, I mean, you and I spend a lot of time brainstorming, which is super cool. So doing this kind of stuff is super fun. Like I'm really excited to actually be here and do this. I mean, you remember my battles trying to get into any of this kind of stuff for industry? Oh my God.
Can you even talk about that? How?
Yeah, I mean,
your industry's so regulated.
Yeah, I mean, the
and-
compliance world in my industry, obviously, for good reasons, right? I mean, there's plenty of people that give ill advice that just ends up putting people in bad spots. So like,
I misspoke, but I came right back on today's video on the Real Word and cleared it up.
yeah, like so for
But
me,
you
it's
can't
just,
do that.
Well, like for me, it's like really, it's
I'm in the Wild West.
the
here.
fear is that blanket statement, right? If I say something like you should do blank, and somebody takes that at its word and has no kind of perspective on it or kind of idea around it, something bad happens to them.
Yep.
That's not a good thing. You know, so we stay away from all that area. So it's kind of cool. You know, we talk very high level, 30,000 foot view, but really diving in is not something we can kind of do in this venue. But we worked around it, right? We figured it out. We're here. We do the show every Saturday, so we're good.
Yeah, and it's been fun.
Dude, it's a blast.
I love the show. I really do love radio, but I don't want to give you too much of my perspective. I'd really like to hear, because how long have you been doing the show now?
I think I just saw it. I think it was like October we started together.
Really?
Yeah,
It's been that long?
Yeah, it's been like 6-7 months now. It's been a while.
Yeah, so that's a good helping. And
Yeah.
I've only done live radio maybe
like
a year before
prior?
that,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
a year and a half. So yeah, so we've been doing it for 6 months. That's
Yeah.
a good little test period
Oh, for sure, yeah.
to kind of get a taste of radio. Obviously, you know what a radio is. You're a human being. Did you ever listen to radio growing up?
That's the weird part. So I listened to regular like FM radio, like
What-
back in the day,
Like, did you listen to like talk radio like I did? Like I was
not as a kid. No,
even
no.
as a kid. So
No.
my uncle, because I loved sports when I was
Yeah.
growing up. So my uncle, I want to oddly say that we were coming back from a funeral or something like that.
Okay.
I think that's the memory that's sticking in my head. But anyways,
It's
we're
getting
like
deep.
leaving that and going to like the, whoever's house, like an aunt's house or something. And I wanted to roll with my Uncle John because he was also a Giants fan. I thought it was super cool.
Yeah.
So hopped in his car and he's like, hey, do you know what Mike and the Mad Dog is? And that was like my first, and I must have been like maybe 10, right? Like I was just starting to like the Giants.
It's a hell of a foray into like talk radio. Mike and Mad Dog, like
Mike
wow.
and the Mad Dog when I was super young,
Yeah.
and I got hooked on sports talk radio at such a young age, and that's really all I listened to. So like when I was in high school, wouldn't it be cool to like, talk about the music, and like I didn't really know, like I knew like
You weren't up
the
on
popular rap,
Yeah.
like Tupac, that kind of stuff that everyone knew, but like I wasn't able to dive deep because I wasn't listening to music.
Yeah.
Like a lot of kids were just jamming out. I was listening to talk radio. So did you listen to talk radio, or was it more like music radio?
So my father was a DJ for the Air Force when I was a young kid, and so we've always listened to just music. DJ, like, so he worked for Armed Forces Radio, like, so he played music for the Armed Forces. That's what
Got
he
it.
did. Like, so I grew up. So my father's got 2,000, 3,000 plus records at the house, like to this day. So it was always music.
Don't tell Jill that.
Oh no, I know. That's
You
why.
know she's a record freak.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she was all huge
I don't know
on
if she's
Saturday
still here, but
about Record Store Day on Saturday. I saw her like all over social media.
I'm so sick of like every day. is
Every day's a
another
day, yeah.
It's administrative day. Don't let me forget that on Wednesday. Sam,
that's-
actually, somebody.
Yes.
Sam's not gonna remember to tell me that on Wednesday. I
No.
need to like. It's on my calendar. It's administrative day. So, all right, so
But yeah, so I wasn't really like a talk guy. I was always like music, and like it's funny, especially like growing up overseas. I listened to nothing but like American music. I listened to nothing from Europe. It was all the stuff that my dad listened to, which is all American, rock music and that kind of stuff when I was a kid. And then we moved here, radio, whatever, that kind of stuff, and it's always been music. Only the last, I don't know, probably 6-7 years, I really started to switch to, like at first was NPR a lot, that kind of stuff. It was never really sports radio a lot, but like I started to go to current events, and like I was always like, I'm a big, huge like news nerd. But I don't have time. Like I don't have the time to flip open the paper at 5:30 in the morning and all right, here we go. Like I can't.
well, now the news. I mean, we talk about this on the radio. We don't actually talk politics on the radio.
Never.
But we talk a lot about the destruction of the news.
Oh, it's crazy.
Because we're both based in Connecticut, and the negativity that's flying. I mean, there's just so much negative
Well,
stuff on the
it's
news.
just-
So that's a
it's-
tough thing to listen to.
Yeah, I mean that's the stuff that glues people on, right? Like nobody
Yeah.
cares about the happy story. Like there's that one happy Facebook story of like the 9-year-old kid who gave away Girl Scout cookies or whatever. Like for every 4,000 terrible.
I listen to
stories.
happy stuff all the time.
I love that stuff. That's like
Yeah.
the best. But like you got to scour. Like you have to basically know what you're googling, like try to find that stuff, because everybody's like, "Oh, this is terrible." And
I
you're
feel like
"Come
all
on."
the YouTube, Facebook, podcast, whatever I listen to is business oriented, which to me is happy.
Yeah.
Like, because you're talking about expansion and how you can, market a new product, whatever you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Or it's just like straight motivation, like happy shit.
Dude, for me, like from the 5 a.m. call to 7:30 is me. So it's like, whatever, podcast, Gary Vee, Ferris, all that kind of stuff. 7:30 when I'm in the car until 4 o'clock, the only thing I listen to is Bloomberg Radio. It's markets all day long. It's the only
Yeah.
thing I care about
Well,
because
you
that
have
stuff's
to.
all pertinent.
Yeah,
Right? So
you
like,
have to.
But like I so thoroughly enjoy that because I can, we talked about this in the past, like the time is so valuable to me that I can do other shit and like not worry. I can catch that headline real quick, and if I need to know that, then I can
Yeah.
go look for it. But
So you didn't really start listening to any type of talk audio, whether it's radio or on your
Podcast.
device, until say 6-7 years ago,
Yeah, yeah.
when you really got entrenched into the finance industry.
Yeah, I think probably just prior to that, I'd start to listen to like some audiobook every now and then, but
Yeah.
like nothing, not
So
anywhere
you
near the
probably
level now.
really have never listened to talk radio on the radio.
I NPR was as close as I
NPR.
got, and that wasn't even that like a lot. Like most of the time when I was listening to something else, like
Because when did you start streaming NPR?
to be honest, probably the same thing. Probably 6-7 years ago.
They were
give or
able to
take.
stream NPR. Okay.
Well, it was it's 89.1. Like I was just listening to like regular FM radio, but like once you get things like I'm such a like the same with like I do the same thing with like cable, like a Netflix, like there's a lot of parallels to like I haven't had cable television in 9 years.
Yeah.
I just don't care because like
We have it now because I have a kid.
well,
but
exactly.
We didn't have
you
it
have a little
forever.
one, but like because for me it's like dude, it's 2018. Like why do I have to watch things on your schedule? Like why can't I be like I want to watch a show like now? Like why can't I be? So the Netflix, the Hulu's, all that kind of stuff.
So is that basically how you feel about
Music,
radio?
That's it exactly. Any kind of audio is like I'm like I should be in charge of when I listen to it and like when I want to and like I should be able to control it. Like it's especially if you're paying a premium. Like so I pay for Spotify because I don't want commercials and I just don't want to deal with it. I'm willing to pay $10 a month to be able to skip and fast forward and like all that kind of crap and not have to worry about whatever baby formula they're trying to sell me, whatever the hell it is that they've figured out based on my clicking through stuff, like whatever it is. But I think that goes back to like radio, like FM radio is like we stop. Like we can get into a flow and then we stop because they got to pay the bills. Because don't forget,
people's attention spans are so short that
I'll change.
Well, yeah, staying with, stick with me for the break. Like that's gonna happen very few times because I mean on radio you're probably in your car, so you may get in and out of the car. You're not going to maybe come back because you went somewhere else, you found a song you like or whatever, and then your attention span is so short
That's
you
it, you're
forget.
gone till the next break.
Yeah.
And then you change that station again.
Yeah.
And you might find your way back, but you've missed 4 minutes of the next segment and you have no context for what we're talking about.
So I think I would definitely align with you. Like anything that I want to listen to, like a podcast that's going to be a couple hours, I want to pause it and continue, pick up like an audiobook.
Yeah.
Pick up where I left off. What about like there are certain segments of radio that really play well to live, right? Like I think the news is and politics, right? Like live radio because there's always trending topics around the news or politics.
And something will always come up between segments. Like it happened to us. There was a traffic accident over the weekend.
And you can't put a podcast out about something that happened in Washington, D.C. that happened last night. You can't put a podcast out about it the next day and release it 2 days later because that's just old news. Nobody cares
it's irrelevant.
anymore, right?
Nobody cares.
So I think, I think news and politics has to stay live. Do you
100%.
agree?
Yeah, 100%.
So do you think that they will ultimately stay live on radio or is that transition somewhere else?
I mean, I look at again, I draw parallels because I think like Netflix and Hulu kind of set the precedent in the TV world. The Netflix and Hulu, it's kind of like the TV killed the radio star.
Have they really for live? Not really, right?
Well, yeah, but they're transitioning is what I'm saying. So like Hulu has live television, YouTube Red has live television.
What does Hulu have for live?
You have to double check it. I don't pay for live television because I don't really pay attention to it. But like they've started to transition that way. Sling TV, right? So like $20 a month. If you have these streaming devices, whether it's Roku, Apple TV, Chromecast, like you can hop on this stuff for a minimal cost using an internet service that you already pay for because we all live and die by Wi-Fi now. Like you can't not have it. So now it's anywhere. Like so you have your laptop and you're at the kitchen table and you're watching whatever it is you're watching and Stella's watching something else on TV and it doesn't matter. Like you don't have to worry about cable boxes and that kind of stuff. But I think like that's setting a precedent for just because right now Spotify and Apple and those kind of places aren't live just yet, there's nothing saying that they can't.
So Hulu got into the NFL, it looks like. I mean, sports is never, obviously you have to capture sports live,
exactly,
right? So I don't know. I didn't know that they captured the NFL.
Yeah, I hadn't seen, I know that it existed. I haven't seen what they actually use in terms of what they offer. But like Sling TV, like I said, Sling's another one. And variations of Sling have existed for a long time. But for $20 a month, I think one of the big things that those companies do that they're smart about is there are demographics that are not served by like Comcast and like Cox and Xfinity. Like if you want overseas broadcasting, your choices with those major carriers are nil. Like you can't get like Ukrainian news. Like it just doesn't exist.
If you want to watch, like somebody told me the other day, what's the sport Indians are really into? Cricket?
Cricket.
Is it cricket? Yeah.
Cricket and yeah.
So a friend of mine down in Miami, he's Indian, and he gets one of these channels that
it happens a lot. But,
has cricket.
Yeah.
He's like, I watch cricket all the time. I'm like, how do you watch cricket? And he said the same thing.
Yeah,
you
have to get it somewhere web-based.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, like, I'm a huge soccer player. I grew up in Germany, right? So, like, soccer is kind of like religion. but like there's like 2 channels.
Do you follow soccer?
Constantly?
But it's hard in America, right?
Well, yeah, American soccer doesn't count, so we don't watch that.
So you're doing like, what are the teams out there? They have
Well, like Premier, like
ridiculous
like Premier
names.
League is like English, right? Like so English Premier League. You watching the German league is Bundesliga, like those kind of things. But like those aren't super easy to find all the time. So you got to use some sort of web stream app usually for that kind of stuff. And that's
They
the
make
thing.
more money than the NFL players,
they're
the
crazy.
NBA players. They make all the stars make more money than the big stars here.
Yeah, well, think about the
on
market.
average.
Think about the market, right? So the market for NFL is the 380 million people that are here.
Yeah,
Soccer is the biggest sport in the rest of the world.
in the rest of the world. Yeah,
You know, so it's like those guys have the budgets kind of thing. And, you know, the draw, I mean, the World Cup's coming up in June, end of June, the World Cup starts. Like, that's a huge deal. You know, billions of dollars is poured in that industry, like, just to go build stadiums for.
when is the World Cup?
Starts at end of June. I think the first game I want to say is like June 18th, I think, maybe June 23rd.
I'll stay out of the bars. Everybody acts like they're into soccer during that. Couple
Everybody's
weeks.
a hooligan. Everybody turns
Everybody,
into a
like-
complete hooligan.
Nobody talks about soccer ever
Mm.
in this country. During the World Cup, you go to a bar and every single person
Well, this year might
is now the biggest soccer fan.
This year might be a little different because the U.S. didn't qualify. The U.S. is not in the World Cup this year, so there will be less. I think there will be less Americans watching the World Cup this year than there was 4 years ago. Yeah, the U.S. didn't qualify. Which
There'll
is
be less fakers out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're still going to have the guys, the ones that are the conversation we had on the air not that long ago, the ones that are Irish, air quotes,
Yes.
and whatever, and those guys, oh yeah, I'm Irish, go Ireland. You're like, come on, man, like,
I tried to catch Pat on the radio.
crushed you though. You had nothing on that.
So
And actually, I have my foreign birth certificate actually in the car. I think it's in the car right now. I can show
you brought it to prove it to me?
Not to prove it to you. I just I bring
just
it for
happen to have
just
it.
for all the naysayers.
So I said to Pat, do you consider what's your ethnicity?
So
right?
I'm German and Irish.
You said German and Irish. I said, do you consider yourself German or American? He goes, well, I mean,
I have 2 passports.
I was born in Germany. So I said, okay, well, you're one
Sam,
of the.
that was like the highlight of my day. Was just like Byron just shut down.
I was like, no.
yes.
You're not proving my point here. We're on St. Patty's Day on the radio, and I was talking about how everybody, people are like, you got to be Irish, right, Sam?
I am.
He's Irish, right? So this is a good example. Have you been to Ireland?
I have not been to Ireland.
Sam's not been to Ireland. So Sam could fit into the category of being like, I'm Irish. I'm Irish.
Kiss me, I'm Irish. Yeah, today you are.
I'm Irish. I'm an Irish guy, this and that. But Sam was born in America, and Sam has never been to Ireland. So this example didn't work on Pax. He was actually born in Germany. I would
so
say that
close.
Sam is American.
I would agree.
I would agree.
Sam identifies as
And
American.
Sam
so he
agrees,
agrees. But some people don't.
No, they get-
some
and they
people
get,
are
like,
crazy.
hard
Dude,
about it.
I'm Italian, bro. What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
oh man, like you got a house over there? Like you were Ben? Like you live? How often do you stay there? I've never been to Italy, dude.
I think my favorite about any of those is like it doesn't matter like regard what like country or unless you like identify is the fake accents people develop around like food and like you're
Actually-
like, nobody talk like come on, you've never said it like that.
I actually hate accents overall, except like if you're like I hate American accents overall.
Okay,
So we were actually talking about this a little bit today earlier.
man, cover
And
a
I
lot.
was pissed when the guy was on the West Coast that we were on a Skype call with him, and he said that it was Nicole and I on the Skype call,
yeah.
and he says, "You guys have a slight accent." I'm like, "Oh no,
What?
that's not good, right? You don't want an accent.
No,
You don't like an American accent.
I'd call
The
I'd
strong
call you
ones.
like I'd call you accentually agnostic. I don't think I would identify you guys as having.
It's just I feel like Connecticut people have no accent. We're just vanilla accents.
Yeah, I mean the closest they get is like either direction on each end of the state.
Sam disagrees.
Yeah, Sam has input. We need to get,
Do you think that Nicole and I have an accent?
That's tough for me to gauge
Because
I'm
you're
also a Connecticut,
Connecticut guy, yeah.
But I have been told many times on more than one occasion that the Connecticut accent excludes the T. So how
Excludes the T.
the T. So how would you say the town that has the outlet?
So Connecticut
how would
excludes
you say
the T's.
The former president Bill.
Bill Clinton.
There's a T in his name, but you didn't say it.
I think I believe I did say it. Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton, not Bill Clinton.
Clint. You got to go. T. I
Yeah.
usually.
I think you turned it to a D. I could see that.
That's what I've heard.
Wow. I've never heard that, but you kind of forced me into a
I don't know if I
rabbit-
disagree with it.
a
I still
hole
think
there.
it's goddamn stupid though. But that's just
Well,
I don't know.
but anyways, going back to that, I'm not
Sorry.
a huge fan of accents,
Fair.
American accents, and I'm certainly not a huge fan of people that were born in America, have never left America,
Identifying as
identifying as something that they're not, right? Like if you want to be it, go all in, do it. right? And I just think there's not enough of that,
Yeah.
like going around like, dude, I'm from America,
Yeah.
right?
This is all about my opinions on the radio. I love how we've completely derailed. This is what you and I do. It's awesome.
Because we're talking about a story we talked about on the radio, which
We need some
the
background.
radio is so frustrating because you can really find like your groove, right? Like we're having a conversation, I'm enjoying the conversation. Ultimately, that's what I want this podcast to be. So it's just like I want to chill with interesting people that I already have a relationship with, people that I'm meeting for the first time, people that I just really enjoy, that I want to learn more about, and I just want to have a conversation with them and document it, right?
Yeah.
And just see where it goes. And I think it's really cool to kill two birds with one stone.
Oh, for sure.
Have the hour conversation that you're going to have anyways, but document it and put it out there and share it with people. On the radio, when you get into a groove or you're trying to do something, boom, then the break comes, or you've got to pitch like a sponsor. What I love, and there's podcasts that I listen to that obviously have sponsors, but I know how to get through the advertising 5 minutes in the front.
We're here because of HelloFresh. You're like,
Right.
God.
And I'd have no problem with that. Like, especially like the really good podcasts, they have to.
Yeah, for sure.
They have to continue to put out good content. That's a variable. Like
It's a way to monetize. I mean, you get
way to
like,
monetize.
You get it. Like it is what it is.
Fortunately, I have no plans on really. I won't say ever. Like someday, if this thing grew, would I monetize it? Yeah, possibly. But like, we make money somewhere.
But you're not.
So-
You're not building it with that express purpose in it.
Absolutely
Like
not.
the goal is not to blow this up and then let it run. Like
To be on the radio, and we're on Saturday at 11 a.m. This isn't a premier spot, but to be somebody's flipping that bill. We're not, but the sponsor's flipping that bill, and you have to stop. You have to acknowledge that. You have to talk about the sponsor. You have
we got to
to
bring
run
them
ads,
value, right? Because they're
Have to bring them value. So even an hour show gets cut down to maybe you can squeeze 30 minutes of valuable content.
I think
out
we're
of an hour
total
show.
recording.
The
like,
breaks are like 15, 16 minutes.
That's what I think. I think we're 46 minutes total airtime.
So 14, yeah.
But we can't control some of that. Like we have to throw out all that love and like it is what it. And kind of go back to what we started talking about.
The
like
other day, Chris made me read a traffic report. I'm like, dude, people have Waze today. Like, no, I don't need to read this traffic report on the
like
radio.
I couldn't think of
It's
a
ridiculous.
thing. I couldn't think of a thing that you and I were more unqualified to do on the radio than to report.
I was like, yeah, so supposedly there's this accident.
Yeah.
I have no evidence of this. Chris is showing me a screenshot on his phone that came in from somebody else's text. Like this could just, I have no,
The picture for
can't
reference,
validate this at
like,
all.
Just for reference, the picture looked like somebody was doing it at 65, passing the accident. We're like, what am I looking at? Like, cool. It's either a crane.
We should have actually pulled up Waze to verify Chris's bullshit text message that he was showing us.
Yeah, I'm
and
pretty
having
sure
us-
like the rest of the internet was way ahead of that text message. Like, here you go. There's an accident. Get around it. And if not, guess how you find out about an accident? You get stuck in fucking traffic, and like there you go.
So do you think overall then, because, I mean, we keep just kind of nipping around it, right? Like the reasons why people are shifting away from radio. Do you just think radio's dead?
I think it's starting to become much more siloed. Like the entertainment value of it, I think, is starting to disappear. I really think that between, I don't care what it is, Tidal, Apple Music, Spotify, like whatever it is I'd much rather listen to like, my jams. Like I don't want to listen to like 2 songs I enjoy, a pause for a commercial I don't give a shit about, and then like 2 songs I couldn't care less about. So now I have to change the radio station, try to find something else. Like that's just stupid. Why don't I just build my own play, or even hit like a radio based on, because these all these companies all use big data, right? They're so much smarter, and they groom all of the like the stuff that they're going to share with you based on what you've already given them. Mm-hmm. So like if you pick somebody that you like radio, it's going to be right. It's going to be your style.
So what about the argument? And this is what they'll go to, right?
Yeah, the backup
guys, is that like say it happens.
Yeah,
and our internet's down for 4 weeks.
That's it.
Right? The internet's down, or you don't know when it's coming back. The internet's down. Like the radio in those instances, supposedly, I think it's AM radio.
Yeah,
still works.
Yeah, well, exactly. In theory, is I guess the counter argument back to that is you have to have a device that works to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't.
But batteries in a traditional radio, which I couldn't imagine anyone having.
Well, I was going to point out, I was like, because you and I both have an AM/FM radio sitting in a cupboard somewhere. Like,
but it would be in your car. If you could start your car, if there's gas in your car, you can be able to listen to the radio there.
I mean, if we're at an event where there's no internet for 4 weeks, we've had a pretty big problem somewhere.
You're calling it. You're throwing in the towel at that point.
I'm saying that I feel like that's a pretty big event. If there's no internet at my house for 4 weeks, like.
But essentially, their argument is that the internet is not as reliable.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I guess, again, and, counter argument again is like, all right, so if I don't have power at my house or I don't have internet, how are you broadcasting? Like, where are you broadcasting from? Like, if Ledger loses power, 94.9 goes down. Like,
Yeah, but they can.
they've got backup generators, maybe. For a
No,
while. Like,
they're not going to do it from the studio. There's ways. I'm uneducated.
well, yeah.
in
So
this.
I
don't know how they do
asking.
it, but there's ways people can get that message out. There's AM, FM, and there's a whole nother world in radio.
Well, there's like weather band, there's UHF, there's VHF. I mean, there's all these like crazy like there's long range, short range, all the stuff like you ever see the cars drive around with like remote control cars? You've got the 12-foot antennas on them.
Yeah.
Like those guys are listening to like Ukrainian AM radio or something. Like these are like way back when I was a Radio Shack guy, like way back when. These dudes used to shoot and like, oh yeah, I got my CB antenna. I'm like, great, awesome.
They came in for a new antenna?
Yeah, that's how they rolled, man. Back in the day, we're talking like 2002. Like, oh yeah, I got a new truck. Need my 12-foot whip antenna. I'm like, what are we gonna listen to right now? They're like, oh yeah, Canadian moose knuckle sports. I'm like, sounds awesome. That's why are you doing this? I could see like, yeah, okay, you're right. If my internet goes down, I can't listen to Spotify.
I think there's a backup to everything, right? Like I think that there's going to be some nostalgic people that want radio.
Yeah,
like,
and I don't
want to have that backup source.
And I'm not saying that like I want radio to die. I just don't think. I think radio's niche is changing. It's no longer the thing you just turn on for entertainment. Like I can't think of. I don't think I have a single preset in my car.
There's still a lot of people. I mean, we're on the radio.
We're on FM radio. I'm glad people listen to it.
No, but there's still a lot of people spending money on ads. Yeah. Ultimately, that's what keeps the radio stations alive.
Oh, for sure.
Ad
money.
Yeah. So you have to change the minds of the advertisers in order to really make radio stations vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? They've got to stop receiving ad money. If people keep giving them money, they're going to keep the doors open.
For sure. Yeah, I think that depends on, again, your demographic, right? Like, that's where I would get nervous. If I was somebody advertising on 107.7, 106.5, 105.5, like, music stations.
Those are local stations here.
Yeah, exactly. Local music. I'm sorry, local but they're purely music. They're not like news. They're not, there's maybe one or two little random blurbs, but like, it's not a news-driven talk station.
I think that music is much more vulnerable on the radio than talk radio.
100%.
Because if there is someone you enjoy listening to, that could be the only place that you're going to get them. Like if I really want, and I haven't listened to them in a long time, but if I really want, mostly because of the new car, by the way.
Yeah.
But if I really want to listen to Boston sports talk radio, there's really only one source that I'm going to be interested in. That's WEEI, and that's the mornings, and that's specifically Kirk Minahan is the only person that I have any interest in all of Boston sports talk radio because he's such a dick. It's hilarious. And the only place you can get him, although he does have his own podcast, but he has just he has a lot of other Boston sports writers that I don't like on there. So
but like if you want an observation about yesterday's Red Sox game, you're not going to listen to his podcast. Like that's
and I'm not going
to next morning.
Well, I'm not even going to really. If I just want the sport, that's the thing though. If I just want the sports, I'm not going to the radio.
No.
You know what I mean? I'm going to go to ESPN if I want an update.
Yeah, I've got the little red and white E on my phone and I'm done.
And I'm going to get it there. It's really about like something big happened and I want to hear opinions on that.
Yeah.
Like the Red Sox make a big trade or the Celtics or whatever, and I want to hear opinions around that. Then I'll go to the radio and tune into what WEEI might say, but
only him. Like you don't really...
Only him. And since I got the car, I got this Ford Explorer, and they have the Apple Play.
Yeah, the CarPlay is...
The CarPlay.
Bonkers.
Apple Play. And everything pops up on my screen. It's almost as big as this laptop. It's like maybe a 3/4 of the size of this laptop screen.
Yeah, it's probably like an 8 or 9 inch display. It's huge.
Yeah, it's big. And everything pops up that you could ever imagine that you want while driving in your car. The Apple Map, the podcast button, the Audible button, all these great buttons. There's about 8 options, and they're very convenient. And I haven't listened to the radio since I got the car.
Notice, by the way, I want you to think about something
Apple
for a
Music.
second. Think about when you plug it in, it doesn't go alongside your other options. It completely supplants them.
It supplanted them. No, well, that being said, so there's a little button that I can press to go back to radio.
You can go back, yeah, for sure. But as soon as you plug it in, your car has now been completely taken over. And
Your car is completely taken over by the options on your phone, and radio is not one of those 8 options out in your face. It's not one of the 8 main channels.
it's not that normal icon you're used to on your phone, because there's not one.
No.
It's that comfortable, kind of familiar screen that you're like, oh, this is what I would do if I was sitting in my office. So, bloop, here you go.
So I've listened to no radio. And it didn't really happen as much as maybe I thought it would have with Sirius XM radio.
Yeah.
So when Sirius XM started to really, be in every single car, brand new car.
Yeah.
Right? The Sirius XM option. I was like, and I bought Sirius XM stock. I don't know if I can tell you that, Pat.
Tell me. I'm not going to give you advice on it.
You can't give me any advice on it, though. Not on the podcast. So I bought Sirius XM stock. Actually, I should have sold it when Howard Stern, this was whenever he signed, which must have been 03, 04 like time frame.
So, yeah, it's been a while.
When he signed into Sirius, like the stock went way up, and I was a novice. I'm obviously a novice still in stocks, but I was even more of a novice. It was like one of my first stocks ever. It shot up like unbelievably, and then like 2 days later it went right back down.
Yeah, kind of like normalized.
But it went not only back down, but below what I bought it at, right? And so,
well, they realized that they paid him $100 million to come over, and like, oh crap, we afford this.
And everyone's like, holy smokes, and then it dropped. So, but my whole thought process then was, I'm holding the stock for a long time because Sirius XM radio is not even, and they weren't even merged yet at that point.
No, I think still you had to buy a Sirius or an XM receiver.
Yeah, so Howard Stern signed in Sirius, and that's what I had was Sirius.
Yeah.
But then they merged, so you had Sirius XM stock. And I just held on to it for years and years and years because my thought process was everybody's going to have Sirius XM in their car eventually because, not everyone buys a brand new car, but in 4, 5, 6 years, everyone's going to have a used car at least. And then almost 100% of the market, 90% of the market is going to have Sirius XM option in their car. But the problem with that was nobody really wanted to pay for it, even if they had it in their car.
Yeah, so everybody had the 3-month, the 6-month new, right, and had it for the whatever the trial was.
But even if you got a used car, it wasn't good enough. Like Howard Stern, unless you were a huge Howard Stern fan, or when Mad Dog shifted from Mike and the Mad Dog, it wasn't enough to get large scales of people to pay for this on a monthly basis.
No, for sure. I mean, I look at it now. Like, I literally listen to a channel on Sirius, and it's Bloomberg.
What I will say, though, for full disclosure, is I waited long enough, and the stock did make its way back to what I had into it, and I got my money back.
Kind of crept back up, slow and steady, right?
And then I dumped it all into Facebook.
But yeah, so like I don't know. It's I'm glad that you brought up Stern because like I look at
now trying to find a way out of that conversation.
Oh, it's all good. Glad you bought Facebook.
I'm glad you did it.
I hope you're happy.
Good for you.
No, but like so like you look at Stern and like that transition, right? So we talk about this all the time when we're on the radio. Like he's handcuffed. The AM and the FM radio stations are what they are.
Well, he's not on Sirius, obviously.
No, but like that's my point. Like, so like when that's on when he was in that world,
he would have 100% went all in on podcasts if it happened, if the big podcast boom happened 20 years ago. He would have definitely went that direction.
100%.
And he would have crushed it.
Yeah, because he wants to be in charge. That's it. He wants to be in control of what it is. He obviously still plugs his sponsors, which is kind of funny when you hear him stop for a second.
He totally poo-pooed podcasts, 8 years ago 10 years ago, whenever podcasts really started.
And I think now he's realizing
he had no respect for it.
Yeah, I think now he's realizing like, oh shit, there's an opportunity here that
that was a fuck up.
Yeah, I think that was a big ball drop on. But it is what it is, right? I mean, like it's the same people who let him leave FM.
Yeah.
It's the same idea of like, here's what I want. And they were like, no, we're in charge. And he went, all right, well, I'll take me and my 50 million listeners. I'll leave.
But this is why I think radio's in a really bad spot. And I go back and forth because I'm like, man, a lot of people do like their talk radio, especially politics radio. So I go back and forth on this a little bit. But since I got that new car, I'm like, I know everybody's going to have this CarPlay, Apple Play thing in 3 or 4 years. And it's free.
Yeah. And the Android Auto, the equivalent for Android phones also exists, and it's almost as popular.
And it's free.
Same thing. It's exactly the same thing.
So the access to your podcast podcasts you're not paying for, but the access, and I guess some podcasts you do pay for, but the majority of the good podcasts you're not paying a dime for. But Apple Music, I do pay $10 a month for my Apple Music. I think it's $10 a month, something like that.
Yeah, I've got Spotify, so 6-1, half dozen the other. Same
Spotify charge you?
So I pay for it because I don't want commercials. I want to be able to like have separate playlists.
You
like
can
Gemma
have
has
free
her-
Spotify.
Yeah. You can get it for nothing. But yeah, whatever. I want it. And
But whatever people are choosing to pay for or not pay for is going to be, boom, locked into their phone, into their car. And so give that 5 years to run its course. Like when my car is 5 years old, someone's picking that up as a used car.
yeah.
Everyone's going to have that.
Yeah.
And then at that point, how many people are really listening to radio?
Yeah, well, exactly. And it's got to be, again, back to silos, right? It's going to be so niche that you're not going to have 12 stations like we have locally that are different but similar. You know, I mean, you have like, again, like you have the 107.7 is like, the hip hop,
Well, that one's
urban,
to me,
like whatever. Like
to me, I can't even imagine how when you're playing, back in the day jams that there's still advertisers willing to pay for that because there are so many free playlists out there, Pandora, Spotify, all these different where you can get back in the day jams. They're the same back in the day jams.
and they're not, and they're
Tupac,
not edited.
Mace, Biggie Smalls, a little Nas.
That's
You just throw these guys on and just loop them over and over and over again.
It's the same like 12 songs, just in a different order every hour.
Yeah, but they're good songs.
Oh, they're amazing, yeah, which is why they can get away with it. But like, it's same. But yeah, I look at things like I want to be able to pick when I listen to what I listen to. I don't want it to have blanks and bleeps in it because that's just fucking stupid. I'm an adult. Like, yeah, if it's got curses in it, my bad for listening to it. Like, it is what it is. But like, I think that's again, we go back to that.
What about that with like podcasts and even some of the ways you can get music right now? When you would go into the store to get a CD, right? Yeah. That was like I loved going to get a new fresh CD. The smell, remember the smell?
But trying to open that goddamn plastic.
CD, you get through the plastic, and then you open the case.
Yeah.
The first thing I would always do is smell in there.
That explains a lot.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like you just smell.
I don't even want to see if Sam's nodding.
The little pamphlet that's in there.
Concerned.
He was nodding.
I'm concerned. I'm surrounded by 2 CD sniffers.
You didn't do that?
No. I've never even heard of that.
It rivals new car smell. It's right there with new car smell.
See, the first thing my father always
CD smell
instilled in me was pull out the liner notes. So I always read like the book, whatever.
You would read the book. I would
just
smell the book and not read it. I would smell the book, pull the CD out, start listening to the CD.
Jam it into the Discman and call it a day.
But when you went to the store, you couldn't buy a CD with swears on it that had the parental advisory sticker on it if you weren't of whatever that age was, right? I don't remember.
Unless
what
like you knew the.
I feel like nobody actually paid attention. Now that I'm saying it, I feel like nobody paid attention to that rule. Cause was it 18 or was it like 13?
I think I remember it was like most of the record stores were occupied or were manned by nothing but stoners that were a couple years older than you and I.
Another kid your age. Yeah. It's like, hey man,
that was usually pretty baked out of his head. So like they didn't really pay a lot of attention to those rules.
I gotta find out what that age actually was.
Yeah,
I
what was the parental advisory? I have no idea.
It's I remember this is like I hate it when I ask a question to Google and I get caught up in like a feed of like people that don't know the answer, but they've
all asked the same question.
I think it's 17. I think it's 9 years.
Why don't you type in
a stupid answer sitting here?
So the trick with Google is not to ask the question, but to type in the answer you're looking for. So the age for
you type in the answer, but we don't know the answer.
But yeah, so you
I
just
always ask the question.
Yeah, so the age for explicit CDs was
You're asking the question in a different way. I actually didn't even ask the question. I made a statement. Parental advisory age. Figured the answer would just pop up.
Oof. Why I
think it's 18.
Somebody checked this in 2017. You and I are not the last people to Google this. That makes me happy. Let's see. Ooh, Best Buy's got one.
Nobody's Googled that this year in 2018.
Best not. Yes, you wouldn't a parent.
I think it's 18.
Generally, you need to be either 17 or 18 plus. 17 or 18 to buy a parental advisory label CD.
So that rule was definitely not followed.
Not even remotely.
When we were I was definitely buying parental advisory CDs on my own at 15 and 16 for sure.
I remember like having to ride my bike from my parents' house in Norwich to the Norwich Town Mall, which was definitely before I had a driver's license, so definitely under the age of 16.
You didn't go to Strawberries in Norwich?
On the other side of Norwich? No. That was a sketchy side, man.
Was Strawberries a national thing, or was that just like a thing for us?
I don't know, man. Wasn't it in the mall, too?
They had one in Brantford? Yeah, but it could just be a Connecticut thing, Strawberries.
I think there was one in the mall, I know for sure. There was one in Norwich on the west side.
That's the one I used to go to, Norwich West Side.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, I always went to University of Music in Norwich Town Mall.
Yep.
That was the spot. Every dude there. That's where my stoner example came from.
But so on podcasts, and it's really difficult if a kid has access to a phone, which most kids
If they have an iPod Touch with Wi-Fi, they can
Right.
stream whatever the hell they
or
want.
people just not give a fuck about what kids are hearing at this point. Like I feel like back then maybe it was.
I think you have to be
a big
realistic,
deal.
right? Like, I mean, I'm not a parent, so like I don't obviously understand, but like I think it'd be kind of realistic.
I am now a parent,
So like,
and I don't give a fuck. But
Wait,
most
like-
people aren't like me.
but I think back to your point, like how would you possibly shield Stella from all of that?
She's
It's impossible.
1
Like,
year and 3 months, and people are like, Byron, you should not swear around your daughter. I'm like, dude, she's gonna hear this.
It doesn't
eventually.
matter. Like,
she's
she's-
also gonna find out Santa Claus isn't real. Like these things are gonna happen.
Yeah, unless you lock her in the bathroom, like what are you gonna
Right.
do? Like shit's gonna happen. I don't know.
I actually, Sam's parents stopped by the office the other day, and I noticed that I swore. Like, did you notice that I swore within the first sentence of meeting them? And I had never met them. I don't know if they're like super,
Conservative and
like get offended by that.
how do your parents feel
No,
about your arm
no
tattoos?
offense. Well, then I started chatting with your mom, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, she's not.
Yeah, if you knew the family I grew up in, you wouldn't have had a problem with it.
I
Yeah,
usually,
tattoos.
I usually have a better filter on first impressions, and then I try to like ease into who I really am. But I do feel like less people in 2018 give a shit about some of the things you're saying, if you're swearing or you're not swearing, and so that I think that kind of trickles down to like how people are raising their kids,
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're
and they just
being,
don't care.
I don't know, if you're just being an idiot about it and like just cursing for the sake of cursing,
Yeah.
like that's stupid. But like if it's part of like just because it really is, right? Like it's become very like kind of accepted vernacular at this point where like people just they're gonna say shit while they're talking. It's just gonna happen. Like it is what it is. If it upsets you, sorry. Like,
But
like,
that's they're gonna try to regulate this stuff. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
Government's gonna try to put in some type of regulations. I mean, with all the stuff that happened with Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg having to go, in front of all these politicians and they're gonna start to look at this, right? Like whether it's how do we control, how do we regulate, how do we make more money, right? Off of these.
how do we impose
Facebook,
tariffs or what? Like,
how
what
do-
I mean, yeah.
Whatever we're gonna try to do, they're gonna try to fuck shit up.
What I think is hard. Like I'm trying to like wrap my head around like what I think would make that an almost insurmountable task is the amount of information and data that we produce now on an hourly, daily, weekly basis is literally fucking ridiculous. Like there's so much coming out.
Yeah.
I can't begin to fathom. I don't give a shit how much the NSA is listening, which they probably are right now, but like how do you possibly process that much information?
So if you think there's too much information, which there's a lot of information,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of bad information, a lot of good information, you got to sift through it, right? Do you think they're going to try to regulate the amount of information? Like you have to now
Like throttle back and
well, meaning you have to maybe check certain boxes now. Like to put a podcast up on Apple or on SoundCloud or anywhere is pretty fucking easy. To put a video up on
download Anchor.
YouTube,
Like, shit, I can use my phone and do
pretty
it right
easy.
now. Like
to put a piece of content on Facebook, like meaning it's easy where everybody has access to being able to put stuff on these platforms.
the barriers are gone. Like,
So do they create more barriers at some point?
I mean, I'm sure, but I think that's what happened. Like, so you try that, right? So you try that idea and go, well, we're going to regulate.
It's weird though because the TV didn't come out, and it's like anybody could just start putting shit on the TV. Like there was always barriers. There still is barriers.
Yeah, huge equipment, like craziness. Yeah,
to getting on TV. But this is different because there's no barrier to entry, but they could certainly, potentially, possibly, maybe reverse the clock and create barriers.
I think if they, but my thought is like, let's pretend this table is like the internet for a second, right? So if you put,
which they did give some of these carriers some power.
we have net neutrality. That's
Net neutrality.
That's probably like an entire other podcast. But like,
right.
if you pretend this table is the internet, completely open access, it is what it is.
These are two tables, by
and
the way.
I'm talking about my side of the mic. That's your table. I don't care about your table.
Yeah, so just your tables.
Your table's AM radio. I got the internet.
Okay.
But like, so you have this whole table, right? And like this right here, where this bottle stands, is where we access Facebook, YouTube, if we have whatever. You can put a gate right there, and people are just gonna walk right the fuck around it and go start something new. I don't think that you're gonna be able to. It's too big. It's like the internet is literally.
It would defeat the purpose of what Facebook is, that everybody can share anything they.
Yeah, but and even if you clamp that down to nothing, where you can't use it, instead of Facebook, it'll be FaceTube. Instead of YouTube, it'll be like whatever it is. Like somebody will come up with another one, and I mean, think about it. That's what happened with MySpace and Facebook, right? Like MySpace did a thing, and it wasn't that it was bad. It was just like it didn't catch the right way, and people just sidestepped it and went around the other thing. I think if you try to put a barrier of entry on a YouTube, a Facebook, a podcast, whatever it is, some kid in somewhere will just write a new one and
Well,
it'll catch on. It'll be the
Unless
next thing.
like with a scenario like net neutrality, these guys just make it so expensive to be able to do things.
Well, I
That's
mean,
the barrier to entry. Is
they're
cost.
not, I mean, they're not.
Right now, it's free.
Well, I mean, they're not gonna regulate the cost of the internet. They're gonna regulate how much data gets passed at what speeds and who gets preferred access and who doesn't. So yeah, you have to make some concessions, right? I mean, yeah, if you're gonna be like, but not for nothing. Like if you're a podcast, you don't need 200 megabits a second. It doesn't take that much speed to be able to stream audio. So if video becomes prohibitive because you can't stream it because Comcast is wrapping you up, and for you to be able to access YouTube.com is an extra $30 a month, then the hell with it. Now all of a sudden you start listening to podcasts, and if podcasts become too hard, then maybe FM radio stands a chance. You're like all of those kind of things, but FM's already regulated. Like I think for every if, then there's always a then. Like it's kind of, if you do this, cool, then I'll go that way. It's just, I think it's become too big. It's like trying to, it's like trying to herd cats. Like it's become out of control. You're not going to be able to, you can't fence off the ocean, right? Like it's too big. There's so many ways to do anything you want that I just really think it's going to be, you can regulate something and one kid will step around it, and then the entire line goes from waiting in line to go to Facebook. They take one step to the right and they walk completely around it and go somewhere else.
It's possible. It's gonna be interesting to see, though.
It's gonna be crazy. I mean,
I do think that I don't think it'll be as easy. My opinion. I think there's gonna be regulation.
Yeah.
So I don't think everything will be as easy as we have it today. Maybe it will. Maybe it's just gonna get easier and easier. To your point, as people develop new technology and things we're can't even fathom right now.
Oh yeah.
Will break the mold. Do you do a lot of voice to text?
I do a ton. It's
you do
absurd.
a lot of it.
So again, go back to cars.
But
right?
do you find, I do a lot of it too because I send out so many messages. Do you find that a lot of common we're obviously common people, but meaning like people that aren't operating a business, like a 9-to-5
users, like we are.
Do you think a 9-to-5er is doing a lot of voice to text? I'm on the Gary Vee train where I think voice is the spot to be over the next 10 years
God.
because of obviously like a big, people listen to podcasts because it's on their time and it's convenient, whether you're in the gym, in the car, in the whatever. But I also just think that Alexa is the next, like that type of thing is the next big takeover where everybody's going to have this in their home. And
100%.
a lot of, and especially in the home, right? Where a lot of your devices in the home, whether it's your heat, your lights, your TV, all this stuff is going to be voice activated.
Well,
so you're going to
have you seen Amazon's new foray into Alexa Business? It's crazy.
Well, I saw something today on Alexa that.
So like they sell like a kit. Like it starts off as you can modify it, whatever. So like an office space this size.
Yep.
You buy, it's like I think it's $600 or $700. It interfaces obviously with all the Wi-Fi, whatever, and you get a bunch of dots. You get a couple of like the big Alexas, and it runs off of either Google's platform, which obviously they don't love, but it is what it is. It runs off of Amazon's AWS, their web service platform, and you can coordinate calendars. So you can say, hey, Alexa, schedule the small with a podcast room for 3:00 with Byron.
Mm-hmm.
Goes
Yeah,
out
right
to
into your
everybody.
calendar. I like that.
It goes into everybody's calendar. Like it's all, whatever the shared platform is. But like they're really starting to push into that business world because it's like you just said. I do it to my phone all the time. I'm like, hey Siri, whatever. Like so it doesn't go off now. But I'm like, hey Siri, schedule. Like for this podcast. When you and I got off the phone, I said, hey Siri, schedule for 6:30 Monday night. There she goes. Podcast with Byron. 2 seconds later, it's in my thing, and I keep doing what I'm doing. I don't have to sit there dicking around trying to type it. Now again, I think you and I are not necessarily the everyday user. We're probably a little more, I don't call it power user, but we're a little more, we engage a lot more with some of the technology. I think we use it a lot more than, like Jenna doesn't use the stuff nearly as much as I do. I don't think.
Well, now that I use voice to text a lot,
it's bananas.
I don't even want to type text messages.
No.
It's excruciating.
Well, especially so obviously CarPlay for you, for me, I have an earlier version of CarPlay where
CarPlay is easy. I can do the voice to text when I'm driving, but
yeah.
But I can just be sitting there in a chair on my phone, and I don't want to type the messages.
No, so my partner,
it's annoying.
Andy, was one of the first guys that I saw do it like constantly 2 years ago. Like he'll sit there and like, I don't know if you knew that you can tell Siri new line, and it'll actually put a new line in the text, so you can just keep talking. You're like, hey man, comma, new line. And like, so you sound like.
I didn't know the new line.
Yeah,
I knew comma, period.
I had no idea. So you say
I
new line.
always try to do enter for new line.
Nope, say new line, and it goes, it's crazy. But like, that like blew my mind. I sat there, I was like, wait.
I feel like such a dumbass.
Well, so you laugh. I didn't respond to emails a lot, not quite as much in the car because it just looked like one stupid run-on sentence. I came across like an idiot. But I was like, wait, hang on. new line. I was like,
See
God
that?
damn it! I was like, I feel
This podcast is now worth it because I now
Value.
know how to press enter on my voice to text.
But like, yeah, so like it's crazy. Like, so to the point where even like I changed my signature on my email. It says sent from my iPhone.
I wonder if you can train your phone to, instead of saying period at every, period at the end of the sentence, you can like just name it something else, dot, something quick.
I wouldn't be shocked if you can. I've never tried.
Sure you can.
I play by their rules a bit for now,
I
but
was talking to Jill. I wanted, because the iPhone 10, you can look at it and it opens right up.
yeah,
I want to be able to like, just look at my phone in a certain way and maybe like look up, look down, and that's the period, that's the comma. Like I'm so lazy now that I don't even want to say period when I'm doing the voice to text. It's going to get, so I think voice is like the thing that's kind of taking over with where our technology is right now. But then it's going to get to a place, a really weird place where people don't even want to use their mouths anymore. They're going to like go, like we went there because we were texting. We didn't want to like talk.
yeah,
Now we want to do this voice to text and all this voice activation.
yeah.
And then it's going to go back the other way where I just want to like use my eyeballs to like certain codes with my eyes and my face reactions
Yeah.
to get things to do
Well, the
certain
biggest,
things.
I think the biggest thing, regardless of however it happens, the reason like I went from phone calls to texts, whatever it was, 8-10 years ago, like all the time. I mean, granted, I was a Verizon guy, right? So like I spent a lot of time with the technology, so I was a little more kind of into it to begin with. But like, I hated interrupting people. I hated having to call, leave a message, wait for you to call me back. It was just annoying. So I was like, if I needed to tell you something or I needed something from you, I'd be like, hey man, I'll see you at 6:30. Period. Done. You respond when you can. Cool. If not, I've told you. You have the information. It's on you now. Like, it's just so much more convenient. Like when people call me, I'm like, dude, are you on fire? Like, why are you calling me right now? Whatever it is, just text me. It drives me crazy. Like, it really does. Like,
You don't like phone calls.
I don't like phone calls. And if you leave me a voicemail, the hell with it. I call, if you leave me a voicemail that says, hey, but anything important is in it, I skip it. I call you back and you're like, oh, did you get the message? I'm like, yeah.
Here's where I send off phone calls. I don't mind phone calls from people that I engage with often, that I have a relationship with, right? Where phone calls become annoying, especially because I'm a real estate agent. Like, I'll have other agents call me with a really basic question. Hey,
Just super mundane.
is there a pool in the backyard? One, they could have gotten this information online,
yes.
right? But they're being
Pretty
lazy.
sure I can get it online.
They're being lazy, and somebody's texting them, asking them a question about a thing, and they just don't want to look it up, and they just call me. Just send that in a text,
100%.
right? Like that type of information is
Yeah.
why text message is invented.
That's
Is there a pool in the backyard? You don't need to call me with, is there a pool in the backyard? You just maybe pick up my phone for that question. Like, that's a text. It's a yes or no.
Yeah, that's it.
There's nothing else for us to talk about.
No.
We're not going out to dinner.
Yes. Click.
We're not friends. Like, just text that question,
Yeah.
please. And so it's always ease, right?
Yeah.
It's ease of use. What's easier? What makes sense? But people are not matching up all the time what makes sense and then which way to translate that information.
it's like a trouble tree, right? Like, here's the thing I want to make a phone call about, and it should be like is this an
These
emergency?
are the things you can. These are the people you can do it to.
Like, is this an emergency? No, don't goddamn call me.
Yeah.
Is this an emergency? Yes, please call me.
But like, I can call you with a stupid question like that.
But you and I talk.
But we have.
But you and I hammer
relationship.
out a 47-minute conversation in 3.5 minutes. Everything is covered, and then we're done. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, and we move on, and like we just go. Like, we're back to our lives. The people, like, I won't name names. People have called me, and it's like, hey, I'm like, all right, what are you
Dude,
doing?
that's the
I'm like, dude,
worst.
if I listen to you breathe, I'm hanging up.
Like,
I'm
if
done.
you're calling me and there's silence for like 10 seconds, like, what do you called me?
I assume we got
do you mean?
disconnected, and I hang up.
What do you got?
I'm out.
Happens all the time.
So anybody who listens to this that I've hung up on, that's exactly what happened.
All right, because I want you to document this in time before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think
How long are we going to do our radio show for?
I don't think our radio show is going to go anywhere.
Anywhere ever?
I don't think our format.
Wow.
I don't think our format's going to disappear.
So ours is super cool because of the demographic that's here, in
Yeah.
our area. There's an older demographic that listens to that station.
100%.
But even for politics, because they're listening to politics during the week. We're talking real
Yeah,
estate
we're like a
radio.
leftover.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they just haven't gotten up and changed it.
We're not talking about. But anyways, I think for that type of station, a political station, I don't think when this demographic, is
Passes,
gone,
yeah.
right? I don't think that the next generation that listens to political talk is going to necessarily find that on FM radio.
Well, I don't think they listen. That's the thing. Like, I don't listen to political radio. I get lots of political information, but like I don't source that off the internet, off the radio.
I mean, we'll do our show for as long as we're having fun and
Yeah.
as long as we're getting callers. But Ultimately, is there a cliff that you think radio is going to dive off? I want you to take a stance, pick a year, so we can document this and we can go back in time and see if you're.
I think radio for pure leisure entertainment, right? So we're talking not live news, but pure leisure entertainment. So maybe I'll lump our show into that because we're not a live necessity per se, but I think live news will remain. I don't really see that going.
But it doesn't have to necessarily be transmitted through radio.
No, but I think if so, I'm gonna say like 2022, right? So we'll go 4 years from now. I don't think the hot whatever jammin' whatever radio stations will exist for leisurely music listening.
Or the majority of them. There'll still be some left, obviously.
Well, yeah, exactly. But in terms of like the way that we know them now, and like they'll be on the outs, I think pretty heavy. I give that less than 5 years before everything has transferred to some sort of be it satellite, Sirius XM, or whatever iteration of that exists in the next 3 to 5 years, podcast. It's just because we're at the point now. I think we had this conversation on the air where it's like, oh yeah, but we're free and blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, everybody has unlimited data at this point. If they don't, they will in the next 2 years. Like,
oh, that was Chris, our board guy.
Was it Casey or Chris? I think it was.
It was Casey. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't Chris. It was Casey.
But like, yes, like so think about where cell phone networks have come in 10 years.
He's like, radio's free. It's like, dude, so is everything else.
But like, so like 10 years ago, I would have never streamed anything because your phone drops every 9 feet. You couldn't even make a phone call. Now we're at a point where like, I get fucking furious when my cell phone doesn't work. I'm like, it's 2018. Why can't I make a goddamn phone call? Like, but
dude, I get furious when I don't get a good Wi-Fi connection when I'm in a plane. Like,
exactly. Yeah, we're at that point. You're 35,000 feet in the air. You're like, why the hell
can
stream
I
Instagram?
not
like,
stream?
Yeah, like, why isn't my feed refreshing?
Like, why is my YouTube video now like pausing in some spots, right? Like,
yeah, I'm on 240 resolution. This is bullshit.
I get pissed about that.
But so fast forward 5 years, right? Your phone will not drop calls. I don't give a shit. Like it won't. Your 5G is already a thing. Like they're already building it. It's like I think it's 15.
Yeah, that's my prediction too. 5 years. I think when my car is a used car, these CarPlay cars, which are probably the last couple of years. I mean, I haven't had a new car in a couple of years, so it's probably been happening. I just wasn't.
Well, you went from like an expensive option with the Jeep to like that's standard equipment going forward.
It'll be standard equipment.
Yeah, but exactly. Now it'll be like that's the entry level going forward. I mean, yeah,
exactly.
You won't, like the variation that I have, which is a dumbed down version. It does all the voice stuff. It doesn't use the display though. That's gonna be the radio in like 2 years. Like you will not have an option. Like you won't have AM, FM. Like, you can still buy a car now. It just has like a radio and like sometimes a CD player. That's not even gonna be a choice. Yeah, all of that stuff's gonna come out. I give it 5 years where I think you will not get into a car and hit FM 1 and listen to whatever station it is. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think the cars have a big play in this.
Yeah, because I mean, besides
how can you hook up your phone?
Besides like, and I got
where are you
funny,
hooking your phone up to?
I got into a.
Although I drive by cars on the highway and you got people with I used to do this too. Like you got headphones on and you're like, listen, you're like, I don't want to listen to radio. I'm just gonna listen to my phone.
I got into a pretty good tiff with a radio ad salesperson, not one that we like, somebody from a completely different set of stations, about the whole the penetration of radio, like 93%. Whatever, I'll make up the statistic. It's something crazy. Like 93% of people are exposed, or listen to 2.5 hours of radio a day. And I'm like, yeah, if I'm sitting in the DMV for an hour and a half and I can't move, that
2.5 a day.
That's what
definitely not me.
It's I'm exaggerating some of the numbers, but like it was some number that I looked at and I was like, you're out of your goddamn mind. And they're like, well, think about it at like your doctor's office. I'm like, that's not engaging me. Like that's ambient noise. It doesn't count. Like, does that if I'm like selling advertising?
I would say that most offices are streaming
a lot of Pandora and that kind of, like, but that's
Frank Sinatra radio.
Well, and that was my point back. I was like, I don't believe that's a true statistic. I was like, where'd you get it from? And they were like Nielsen. I was like, great, the company that has to do with radio and TV and makes all their money in radio and television. Of course, they're going to tell you these numbers.
The station that we're on, they don't even subscribe to Nielsen ratings because they think they're crap.
Because they are. Like it's.
I'm granted they are crap, but you have no other way.
There's no metric. Yeah,
there's no metric to tell me like what show's doing well. Obviously, the metric is the calls, right? Like if you're getting calls, you're doing well.
Based on which we crush, by the way, just so
we get calls, but
Sam from Wesley, my man.
You get a lot of repeat callers, and they always say like, I think the number is 1 out of 1,000. So if you have 1,000 people listening to you,
you'll get one.
You should get one call an hour, right? So that's generally now like you give stuff away. We give stuff away. You're gonna get more calls, like, and then there's all these other different variables, right? But that's the rule of thumb, I believe. I guess I could Google that. I don't even know how to Google that.
I'm not even sure that's going to be. But again,
that's not going to be Googleable.
But like, where are you getting the numbers from? It's going to be another Nielsen number or something, right? Like, it's like.
And that's the thing. Even Nielsen doesn't have a really good way. You know how the Nielsen ratings are done?
No.
they're calling people and asking them questions.
I remember I used to get the Nielsen, the book, like to my house every now and then. Like you filled like a survey question and they'd mail you $1. And you're like, great, thanks guys.
Nielsen is the one for the radio, right?
Thought
No,
so.
Nielsen's TV.
Is it only what are they using for?
What's the radio?
I thought
ratings?
Nielsen did radio as well. I don't know shit about this stuff.
It might be. It's whatever's similar to the Nielsen.
I don't know anything about it, but I'll go on record with just fucking. I'll just.
Oh
hammer
no,
it out.
it's
I don't
Nielsen Audio.
care. Okay, so it's a variant of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they collect by a random sample of a population throughout the U.S. Using a paper diary service. So it's not even calling.
That's what I used to get.
So it's a paper diary service 2 to 4 times a year, and the portable people meter, an electronic audience measurement service, 365 days a year. The purple people meter. Purple. No,
Purple
the
people
portable.
meter? Portable-
I said purple.
Purple people meter. What are we talking
Portable
about right now?
people meter. Purple people meter. That's
I
what
knew,
was
I knew where you
thinking
were
of.
going. I was just a little confused. The Nielsen people will not be happy with that.
That's freaking hilarious. That's why I love like what we're doing with like Facebook and on YouTube and
Yeah, I mean, like
with the media company and like for our real estate company, like we can
dude,
look
like it's not
at
hard.
what's actually happening. We can look at how many people are engaging.
Dude, like I
It's
mean,
really it's really important if you're running a business to like know these numbers.
dude, like we're relaunching our website. So like I have the old site right now up on Google Analytics, and I just hit a button on my phone. I can tell you everything that's happening on my site
Yeah.
live.
Where people are clicking, how many
What
times
pages,
they're
how
clicking
long,
it.
like all that. Like it takes 14 seconds. Or like, you know, Instagram, you go to your profile, right, top right, insights. Everything you want to know.
So, dude, I hope to, and I really appreciate you coming in and
That was fun,
jamming
man. This was fun.
on a topic like radio. Not too many people would sit here and geek out on
Oh, dude.
radio with me. So
This is
I
where we're at.
appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
I really hope that I'm doing this podcast for a long time because I enjoy this a lot.
Yeah.
Like I just like jamming out with cool people, interesting people, and having a conversation, just shooting the breeze, right? I just really authentically enjoy that.
Oh, it's so good.
So I'm hoping this goes for a long time, and I'm hoping that I'll be bringing you back multiple times.
I can't wait.
Right? I'm hoping this catches some steam. If you like this, obviously review this podcast, share it up, all that kind of stuff. Because I hope to bring in a lot of different interesting people, and I hope Pat's one of those guys that comes back time and time again.
I can't wait. Can I plug my IG right now? Can I throw in
You want
like,
to plug something?
Yeah.
You're gonna plug something?
Can I plug in like
yes, you can plug whatever you want.
find
Do
me
it.
on Not Pat Kenny on Instagram at Not Pat Kenny
at
NOT.
not Pat Kenny
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Yeah, and then
follow him now.
Tell me how terrible I did. On
Yeah,
the
if
podcast.
you listen to this podcast all the way through, I definitely want you to DM or drop Pat a comment on
For sure.
on one of his pieces of content. Awesome, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah,
Take care, people.
this is good stuff.